Bentham versus Mill. Which theory do you think will win? First, let's get to know these philosophers. Let's start with Bentham. Jeremy Bentham was a British philosopher, lawyer, and social reformer who is often recognized as the father of contemporary utilitarianism. Bentham defined the principle that it is the greatest happiness of the greatest number that is the measure of right and wrong, as the fundamental axiom of his philosophy. He became a leading theorist in Anglo-American philosophy of law, as well as a political radical whose ideas influenced the development of welfarism. Individual and economic liberties, separation of religion and state, freedom of expression, equal rights for women, the right to divorce, and the decriminalization of homosexual conduct were among his causes. On the other hand, John Stuart Mill is the most prominent English language philosopher of the 19th century. He was a naturalist, utilitarian, and liberal whose work investigates the repercussions of a steadfast empiricist worldview. He is the oldest son of the British historian, economist, and philosopher James Mill. His father, who was a severe disciplinarian, was his sole educator. Actually, among Bentham's students were his secretary and partner James Mill, the father of John Stuart Mill, the legal philosopher John Austin, and the American writer and activist John Neal. He had a significant impact on the reform of jails, schools, bad legislation, law courts, and Parliament itself. Now, we know these philosophers. Let's proceed to which theory I agree. Both theories exert great elaboration about utilitarianism and hedonism. Hedonism is the view that human happiness is comprised of pleasure and sadness is comprised of suffering. This is the main reason why I choose Mill's theory than Bentham's theory. Bentham considered only quantity of pleasure, but Mill considered both quantity and quality of pleasure. Bentham's utilitarianism was criticized for being a philosophy worthy of only swine. This is because he made no distinction between the pleasures experienced by beasts and those experienced by humans. Quantity of pleasure being equal, Pushpin is as good as poetry. Mill acknowledged this, and to sidestep the criticism, he considered both quantity and quality pleasure. Mill distinguished between higher pleasures, those that require mental faculties that only educated humans could obtain, and lower pleasures. These are the bodily pleasures that both animals and humans could experience. For John Stuart Mill, higher pleasures are more valuable than lower pleasures because of their intrinsic superiority. Though Mill's theory is more respectful of human nature, it makes pleasure even more difficult to calculate, as we now have to consider unquantifiable quality of pleasure as well as the quantity. So those are the main reasons why I choose Mill's theory over Bentham's theory.